The singer and guitarist Dave Rawlings is on the road right now with his musical partner Gillian Welch and his band The Dave Rawlings Machine. Ben Cesario got them into our studio for a session last week.
Ruby, let down your golden hair while I'm standing at the bottom of your stair. Ruby, well, I can see your TV on, but the people there, they flicker and they're gone. So let down your golden hair for me tonight. Let down your golden hair for me to climb, just like an old-time telegraph man. Well, I came here with a simple job to do, 'cause that news coming down the wire said that your head's on fire, and I'm trying to get a message through to you. Oh, Ruby, well, you ain't lonely yet with your crystal and your Russian cigarette. Ruby, what haven't you heard before? 'Cause the finest power when it hasn't got a door. So let down your golden hair for me to climb. Let down your golden hair for me tonight, just like an old-time telegraph man. Well, I came here with a simple job to do, 'cause that news coming down the wire said that your bed's on fire, and I'm trying to get a message through to you. Oh, Ruby, I'm that old-time telegraph man, and I came here with a simple job to do, 'cause that news coming down the wire said that your wheel's on fire, and I'm trying to get a message through to you. I'm an old-time telegraph man, and I came here with a simple job to do, 'cause that news coming down the wire said that but your world's on fire, and I'm trying to get a message through to you.
Dave Rawlings, Gillian Welch, thank you very much for coming in.
We're happy to be here.
That was Ruby from your album, Dave, A Friend of a Friend. And the players there that we've since kicked out are Morgan Janig on bass, Gabe Witcher, guitar and vocals, and Ketch Secor, fill and vocal, right?
Yeah, and Ketch and Morgan play with the Old Crow Medicine Show. And Gabe is filling in for Willie from the Old Crow Medicine Show. Gabe generally plays with Punch Brothers.
So I feel I have to point out that we now have 3 times as many microphones on us as you just had for that. You did that with everybody gathered around one little mic.
One lonely SM57.
And it sounded really, really, really good.
Well, you know, a lot of music was made that way. I mean, I guess initially out of necessity because there was probably only one line, and at the beginning there was only one speaker. But it's still a good way to do acoustic music, you know, to sort of have everybody listen and blend it in the air. You know, you just play a different way than if you're all standing at your own little station and you've got a lot of distance between you. If you have to sort of weave in and out to play the solos and whatnot, it makes it kind of more visceral.
When Dave on the guitar or Ketch on the fiddle steps up to take the solo, it just obliterates the rest of the band, and you get this great, very exciting dynamic.
And it
just
you
happens.
did. We haven't heard it yet.
Well, of course, yeah, we haven't heard what we just did, but that's the idea.
But as a player, it's kind of the difference between like being, well, I don't know, it's more like you're inside it. It's more like jumping in the ocean as opposed to taking a shower.
It was neat to watch you kind of do the choreography of people weaving out, but nobody was the Louis Armstrong and had to run outside the room because they were so loud.
That's true.
That should have been you, Gillian.
Yes, I know. I was holding back.
Is that the way you made the album, or did you do it?
Well, you know, there are a couple things on the record that were, maybe one thing, a song called Sweet Tooth that Gillian and I did, that was done into one microphone. But most of the stuff with the vocal group, with Willie and Ketch from the Crows and then Gillian and I, we did try to set it up initially with multiple microphones, you know, with everybody standing at their station, and I heard about a half of the first take that we did and just threw that out the window, and we stood in a square to rehearse something all facing each other, and immediately had a nice blend in the room, and I just dropped a omnidirectional microphone in the middle, and you know there were some other microphones lower to pick up a couple instruments, and then the bass was off to the side a little bit, but
all
yeah,
the vocals are
all the
live
vocals,
into one
yeah.
microphone.
I mean, and all the takes are live. We couldn't, with that much sound bleeding into everything, you know, there aren't really any overdubs except for the strings were added later on a few things. But yeah, pretty much we did it that way.
So tell me about the song Ruby.
Well, it got started,
In the summer.
I guess, last summer.
Last summer.
Oh, so it's pretty new.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a fairly fresh song. Yeah, Gillian was working, had a number of different sort of chord progressions or things that she was thinking about for a song, and played me a bunch of them, and there was one particular one that I thought sounded really good, and so then she started working on, you know, a melody and some words, and yeah, we wrote it together.
Yeah.
And how did you decide that it was going to be for your
A
album
song for
opposed
me?
to hers?
I don't know. It gradually, the subject matter and what it came out of, and sort of life, you know, what got into the song was sort of more pointed towards me, I suppose.
Well, and also it's just, I mean, typically if I sing it, it's just going to end up sadder. And the song actually seemed to want to be slightly more up.
Yeah, it has some heartbreak in it, but it has some whimsy in it too. So, you know, we find our voices tend to bring a different emotion. I mean, in the end, it was about a girl, so there was that too. But
Yeah.
we wouldn't generally let that stand in our way.
I mean, when did you decide that you wanted to make, you know, your own album and sort of, you know, the Dave Rawlings machine?
It wasn't something that I'd been, you know, pining away to do. It was just that song got written, Sweet Tooth got written. I had, of course, the older songs, the song I wrote with Ryan Adams, To Be Young, and Catch, the I Hear Them All song. I had some other songs around that were older that I'd been singing at Gil's shows for years, so I had some interest in recording them at some point in my life. But we were working on getting songs ready for Gil's record, and at some point we both thought, well, wait, it looks like we kind of almost have enough songs to make a record for you, you know, Gillian said. So we decided to try recording and see if we could get stuff on on tape that we liked.
We didn't know if we were going to actually put it out.
Yeah, we
or
thought we
even
should
follow
record it.
through with it until there were the 9 songs.
It became more interesting to us after we did a few shows under my name, and we realized that musically, I was in a further away place from Gillian's music than we would have initially thought. You know, it really opened up a new kind of palette, and obviously a new kind of band, you know, playing with other instrumentalists and sort of getting more of a full string sound. And I think that's when it became intriguing to us. And also, we would play these shows. Initially, though, a lot of the Machine shows we played were just the two of us, but we were playing harder and louder because it was me singing, and we had to do some stuff. And we'd go back and do Gill shows, and it would be like taking leg weights off, and all of a sudden we had those shows were even better. So we thought, well, we're definitely learning and, you know, growing through doing this. So
The songs that end up getting released on my records, that's like maybe 1/10 of the songs that we write. And all these other songs just kind of languish around for various reasons, either because of subject matter or they just don't suit me or they don't fit in. And so there's always been these other songs that we didn't really know what to do with. That's my phone.
That's your iPhone or whatever that thing
Well, at
is.
least it's Robin Hitchcock. There could be
All right,
worse
I'll forgive
things,
that.
right?
I'll forgive that. You got a text message from...
Robin,
say hello to the nice people at the New York
I'm
Times.
doing a radio interview for the New York Times. Can I call you back later?
At least say hi for us.
I'll call you back a little
The
later.
Times sends its love.
Yeah, send your love to the New York Times. All right, bye. Sorry about that.
Wow. That's the closest I've ever gotten to a phone call from Robert Hitchcock.
Years ago, during the dawn of cell phone time, or probably later than that, but neither of us were really using one at all, but we had this ancient cell phone that we carried around on the road for emergencies. And I mean, it would not be turned on for months at a time. This is just the
It was
way
like a
it goes.
walkie-talkie,
For emergency?
You know? Yeah.
And we're driving along one day, and we'd met Robin at a show in London. I'd gone into a crowded room after a Gillian show. It was like an after-party thing, and just hundreds of people I didn't know. And I walked into the room, and I was sort of uncomfortable and tired from the show. And I saw a familiar face, and I walked right to it, you know, not just without a thought, like 3 steps, boom, boom, boom. And just as I was about to say hello to this person I knew, I realized this person was someone I didn't know. It was Robin Hitchcock, and he had just been familiar because, of course, I knew what he looked like. So I said, "Oh, it's you." And he said, "It is I."
Sounds like a good line you had there.
Yeah.
I saw you across a crowded room.
Yes.
Felt that I knew you.
I felt that I knew you. And Robin was lovely, and we met, and he'd really enjoyed the show. And I gave him that cell phone number. He said, "Well, you have a number out here on the road." So months and months go by. Gillian and I are doing a stateside tour. We're touring we're touring somewhere in the Midwest.
Yeah.
And Gillian
In Kansas or something.
takes the cell phone out of the compartment that it lives in to see if the battery is fully dead, because we thought we might charge it.
So I literally turn it on for a moment to see if there's any juice left. And it rings.
And we both jump out of our skin because we've never heard this phone
The
ring.
cell phone has never rung. No one's ever called us because it's never on.
Yeah, the people who have the number, like our managers or whatever, know it's never on. So no one calls. We didn't even know what the ring sounded like. It truly just scared us. And it was Robin Hitchcock who had given the number, and he had called at that moment because he
He was sitting in a hotel room reading the newspaper, and he was reading an article about the current reigning Miss Ohio, whose name happened to be Robin Hitchcock. So he figured he better call me.
Because Gil has a song called Look at Miss Ohio. So,
So that's why he called right then.
yes.
So I always take Robin's call.
Wow.
Strange but true.
I'm glad you took that call then.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you about is you're playing Bonnaroo.
Yes.
Have you been there before?
Gillian and I have played it before. We had a nice set a few years ago.
Is it fun? I mean, to be there as a musician among 100 other musicians?
The last show we played there was very good. Have we played there twice before?
We have, because with the first year where we just played the loudest songs we could.
Because of, bleed from other stages.
Yeah. And then the last time we were there was when John Paul Jones sat in.
I personally really enjoy playing them because you feel as though you're always getting somebody's friend who's muddy and out there in the field who is walking in who's never heard you before because someone said, hey, go check this out. And as opposed to having to buy a ticket and go to a theater and do whatever you have to do to go see a regular show, you just have to schlep your way through the weeds and, find yourself a place to stand in a tent or in front of a stage. And I know as a festival goer in my life, I've discovered some music that way. So it's good to keep that stuff in mind when you're playing.
Somebody in the mud is hearing you for the first
Yeah.
time.
Someone in the mud or the dust.
It's a bit like a
depending on-
strange Olympic event, also, playing a festival for us. It's just so crazy and loud, and, there's helicopters going overhead, and there's 2 other bands next to you. But I really dig it.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to be there with a bass guitar for the first time
Yeah.
in my life, and not have it be just Gillian and I up there. trying to
Electric or
play.
not?
No, it'll be
Okay.
just like what you saw, but it'll still be a good step up from where we normally are.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for coming in, and good luck at Bonnaroo.
Thanks
Thanks.
for having us.
I feel I have to let you return Robin's call.
Okay.
Our session's recorded by Sheldon Steiger and Jeremy Sklarski at Major Who Studios.
That's our show for this week. We'll be back with another Popcast next week. Thanks for listening. For the New York Times, I'm Ben Ratliff.
Young